Okay, I think the majority of people have joined. So once again, just to extend a warm welcome to Region Business School's webinar session. Thank you to everybody for attending this event. I am Shaheen Khan. I'm an academic at Region Business School and current PhD student. Just to give a brief background into Region Business School, Region Business School is a private higher education institution that's registered by the Department of Higher Education in South Africa. In addition, we also registered on the Council of Higher Education and SACWA. We are a management school, so we offer a range of programs and certifications ranging from the high certificate in business management, the Bachelor of Commerce degree. We also offer a Master's of Business Administration and a Doctorate in Business Administration. Regent is also a member of the Honoris United Universities Network, which is the African continent's first pan-African higher education network. In addition to this, Regent Business School is also at the forefront of developing um, or getting our students equipped for the fourth industrial revolution, and we're achieving this through the use of the iLead lab. So just to get into tonight's session, tonight's topic focuses on leading through the fourth industrial revolution and technology. We're talking about how to develop skills for the future. The idea or the rationale behind the session is to incorporate elements of the fourth industrial revolution. We're going to look at how to lead with technology as we navigate in a VUCA world. So basically a volatile, uncertain, ambiguous, and challenging world. With business still recovering from the ongoing impact of COVID, and we know that the unemployment rate is soaring and there is a widening skills deficit. The purpose of the webinar is to lead you, the participants, on a journey of discovery to engage and develop 21st century skills and to provide tools towards developing an entrepreneurial mindset, as well as to share key techniques to develop your leadership style. Having said that, we have two experienced and seasoned panelists that are at the forefront of tonight's topic. Our first panelist is Kyle Chetty. Kyle has over 10 years experience in the HR industry. He's currently the HR executive and a certified Gallup coach. Kyle recently won the Young CHRO of the Year award for 2020. And he was a finalist in the Future of HR Awards for HR Director of the Year and Best HR Strategy. People Hum named him one of the top 100 most inspirational leaders of 2021. Our second panelist is Tafadzwa Mukuredzi. Taffy is responsible for guiding the technological transition into the digital era as the company is propelled into the fourth industrial revolution. Taffy has also over 15 years of leadership experience in the manufacturing, consulting, and technology sectors of the economy. Taffy believes in driving transformational strategies in complex organizations, focusing on business value realization through creative and critical thinking, problem solving through application of data science and business intelligence, innovative solutions, and building relationships. Taffy is also a qualified industrial engineer. He holds an MBA from UKZN Graduate School of Business and Leadership. He's also currently completing his research for an MCOM in Information Systems and Technology with UKZN. Having said all of that, I look forward to tonight's session, and our first panelist will be Kyle Chetty. Thank you. Kyle, you can take over.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to tonight's session. We're glad that you could join us. If you have our previous webinars before, welcome back. And to our first-time viewers, we really hope that you will enjoy the session. Please feel free to use the Q&A functionality during the session. We will try and answer your questions, and we will also break into a live Q&A at the end. First up, let's go over some of the topics that we would like to tonight's webinar and how it will flow. So first up, the agenda. So privileged to take you over the first three modules. which is the fourth industrial revolution, the future of digitalization, and leading in a digital age. I will then hand over to my co-host, Taffy, who will then take you through technology in the competitive advantage, the new VUCA model, and skills for the future. Once again, if you have any questions, please make use of the Q&A functionality, and we will try and get to your questions live at the end. So digital is sorry about that. I'm going to turn off my video for the bandwidth, and hopefully that will make it a little bit better. So just to recap, 70% of digital transformations fail. And although most companies and executives know how crucial it is to evolve with technology and create a digital platform and process, putting into action is a very, very different story. And many companies have succeeded through digital transformations. Some of them have hit roadblocks. And understanding what went wrong with companies can really help with guidelines to point out how the future of digital transformation and how do we move in the right direction. A great example of this would be Kodak. And from what we know, 15, 20 years ago, Kodak was one of the biggest industries in the photography era. You could go and have your photos developed. They were able to help you, navigate through the transition cameras, which needed to be processed via negatives and moving over to a digital space. But what we found that in the early 2000s has technology advanced the way we actually capture our pictures, really able to evolve through that. They weren't able to digitally transform, and they've hit many roadblocks and failed. Another great also created a digital business unit that was focused on a one size instead of sort of providing quality to their customers. An example that we could also talk about was Ford, that started a new digital service that was separated from the rest of the company, in actually integrating its digital solutions. P&G actually didn't even consider competition or digital could impact their economic value share going forward. Now, these were some of the things that these Fortune 500 companies actually didn't think of, digital transformation. And they then re-looked at their strategies and said, that though these companies failed in the initial step of transformation and going digital, they were really able to make adjustments and re-strategize to succeed moving into the future. Now, remember, a failed digital transformation doesn't really say that you failed totally. What it means is that you're going to have to re-strategize, you're going to have to invest more money, you're going to have to use new resources and time to build your credibility. So I would like to share with you a video just to sort of set the platform of how we're going to go through with some of the next topics that we're going to discuss. Please note that depending on your bandwidth and your internet connection, your video may freeze or you may have a lack of sound.
Performed by us now being automated. With the collection and analysis of real-time data, artificial intelligence, and the ability for all components of a production line to talk to each other, production can be really efficient and personalized according to customer needs. But what does this mean for us? With increased automation, freed up for concentrating on more complex tasks. We will need a workforce who are capable of building, programming, and developing these technologies, but also making sure we are applying them to our lives in an ethical way. There are core skills that we can offer that technology cannot replace. The human touch is going to be incredibly important, ensuring effective communication, problem-solving, change management in this digital environment. There will also be a greater need for joint working across disciplines, creating new innovations. The future job market will be looking for graduates with an open mind to explore the unknown future possibilities. We will all need to develop our skills in order to embrace, adapt to this ever-changing environment. What will you do to make sure you are ready and have the right skills to thrive in the fourth industrial revolution?
All right, so what is industrial revolution and this 4.0 that we talk about? So just to give you some context and bring you up to speed of where we are, we first was introduced into the industrial revolution in the late 1970s. Now, those were just rural agricultural societies, and we've seen the development of steam trains, for example. As new technology developed and have we started researching and investigating even second industrial revolution came up in the 1800s. We've seen there that electricity was introduced. We then started sort of investigating and collaborating with stuff like telephone, the airplane, the light bulb, and so forth. Then we moved into the third industrial revolution, where we saw computers really being introduced into our world, and how that sort of changed the way we lived and worked. We're now sitting in the fourth industrial revolution, where we are constantly using technology that is embedded in us to try and transform the way we work and live. Experts say that technology is making our lives easier through robotics and innovations and artificial intelligence. However, some people are really concerned with the way that we are moving. However, it's important to know that the fourth industrial revolution is really a fusion of advances that we've researched and developed amongst the years, from AI to robotics to the Internet of Things, which we'll talk about a bit later. But at the same time, we're looking at engineering and quantum computing and so much more. But what exactly is the fourth industrial revolution, and why should you care? Well, the fourth industrial revolution is really a way of describing the blurry of boundaries between the physical, digital, and biological worlds. It is a fusion of advances in the artificial intelligence, robotics, the Internet of Things, and 3D printing. It's the collective force behind many products and services that are really becoming indispensable to modern life. Think of a GPS system. That is one of the fastest ways or routes that we can get to our destination. Now, this is voice activated. There's virtual assistants such as Apple Siri. We're now looking at Netflix, where we are streaming TV, or even Facebook, which we never had a few years ago, where it's so easy for us to actually connect with our friends, keep them updated in our lifestyles, and share what we're doing with them. And as a result of this, the perfect storm of technologies have really led the path for the fourth industrial revolution, and it's also paving the way for transformative changes in the way we live, and it's radically disrupting almost every business sector we know. Now, the way we live and work is changing at a pace that we've never seen before in human history. Let's look back at a year ago, when it's going to be almost 12 months that we were introduced to a lockdown due to COVID-19. And what we've noticed that businesses and people had to quickly adapt to the new world of work, where people were not going into offices anymore. We had to now start doing businesses digitally. We had to start engaging with our customers digitally. We now started meeting with our friends on WhatsApp video call or Zoom or Skype. and we've lost that personal interaction. Now, we can say, what happens to the new world of work? What happens to our lives going forward? Is this going to continue? Are we going to enhance all of this? But it's important to also know that the fourth industrial revolution is unprecedented, and it really is embracing nature and its global spread as it moves along. Now, we can already see in some of our businesses, in our offices, in our homes, even in entertainment and sport, and most importantly, in some of our classrooms, lecturing, in our toddlers that are going to school, we see that it is impacting and interacting their daily lives. They are now using cell phones, laptops to start engaging in ways that they never knew they would before. Look at the transformation of cars, how that is introduced with now parking assist and lane assist, and automatic driving, which we've never had before. And one of the good things that we have at Region Business School is the iLead Lab. And they've done this not only to respond to the challenges, but also embracing tools and the learning atmosphere that they're moving on with. Now, Region Business School is really committed to preparing both the students and how they actually impact and enable the new world of work. This is a 10-day boot camp that they have at the Employability Unit's iLead Lab. And in addition to going through this program, they also teach you how to be flexible with your creative thinking, using your muscles to thrive in this dynamic world. And also, students are exposed to a wide variety of skills and experiences that includes hand-on training that is the art of successful communication, information literacy, global citizenship, and the use of art of creativity to problem solve. They've also embraced 3D printing and a wide range of technology that is really relevant to the fourth industrial revolution. And if you'd like to find out more, you're more than welcome to visit their website or put some information in the Q&A, and one of the region participants will also let you know through that. So let's look a little bit of the components of what is 4IR and what is some of the characteristics. Now, we do know that the current industrial revolution really puts a premium on adaptability in the learning and thinking of how we humans behave. Now, this implies that the shelf life of the present day educational skill sets that is really becoming increasingly short, requiring the future workforce to really update their knowledge and their proficiencies to meet the new demands of technologies in the industry. Now, the disruptive 4IR technologies are powered by the Internet of Things, robotics, um, artificial intelligence, virtual reality, cloud, fog computing, and other technologies. Now, combining 4IR technologies in educational institutions and at work and at home will really help bridge the gap between how we as humans think and behave. And it will also strengthen our knowledge by sharing the transition from task-based to human-centered approaches. Now, there's a list of skills required for the future world of work. And I know that Taffy is going to talk about it later on. But there's three things that I would like to share with you around 4IR and how do you develop some of that characteristics yourself is the ability. Now, this is the capacity to act mentally and physically, and it is requiring you to have a flexible mindset, as well as logical reasoning, problem sensitivity, creativity, and mathematical reasoning. Now, these are all big things you're thinking, but what it really is, it's about really having the mental ability to look and embracing technologies and making the right decisions using technology to enhance your life and make it better. Now, some of the basic skill sets that we can sort of differentiate around this is active learning, computer literacy, reading, oral communication and expression, and processing skills that we require, things like active listening, critical thinking, monitoring yourself, looking at some of your cross-functional skill sets also, that, things like social skills, your system skills, problem solving skills, and your resource management skills. And why am I saying that? Because looking into 4IR and the way the world is moving forward, we need to have some of these skills to help us to use the components of 4IR to move forward. Now, think of this scenario. Imagine a scenario. You are you're leaving the office, you get into you are able to access your car through your cell phone or your phone calendar to actually determine the destination you're headed to. And for what it's known, the car already knows what's the shortest and the fastest route. And in case you encounter traffic along the way, the car automatically notifies your office or your family member that you are running late. While now this may seem like a clip from a futuristic movie, this is scenarios that is actually being taking shape and is actually being tested around the world. Now, as you enter the world of Internet of Things, which I will elaborate a little bit later on, we're using the internet so much, and we are connecting with information and people to businesses. Now, it's also important to remember that these are global networks that we are connecting with, and there's data and machines that is running and syncing everything we're doing. It is tracking your phone, the places you visit, your search bars, how long you're taking on your phone. And a recent report at the end of 2019 shared that 8.4 billion people connected through the Internet of Things. Now, that is more than the total population on Earth. Another research showed that they forecast that 27.1 billion people will be networked on devices by the end of this year. Now, globally, that will be 3.5 network devices per person. Why am I telling you this? Well, digitalization, and the future is now. Think of when a cell phone was first introduced. If you remember, it was one of the in things that we had to use, but you had to pull the aerial up to get better reception. There was no such thing as mobile apps or cameras at those forth. And as the mobile phone have evolved, we saw them getting very thinner and smaller. And now we're seeing them getting a little bit larger with screens folding, with no aerial or flap that you need to pick up. Now, as we move through digitalization and we understand how this is impacting us, it's also important to look at how emerging technologies have changed over the last 10 years and how is it going to change in the next 10 years. Now, currently we have some of these things that are impacting our lives, and we've also seen that we've heard of some of them coming into the new world of work. Now, one of the things I want to talk to you about is 3D printing. Cardiologists are using 3D printing to actually save infants' lives. They're actually using 3D printing to make their surgery safer, easier, and shorter. Now, if we had to think back 5 to 10 years ago, we never really thought of 3D printing. Now we're using 3D printing, which is technology, and helping our patients. In the next 20 years, we're going to see exponential progress in some of these technologies. For example, virtual reality. We've seen people have video conferences where they look like they're in the same room, but they're not. We've seen you put your phone into a virtual reality device that you can now look and start playing video games where you actually feel that you are part of this game. Meanwhile, you are just sitting in your lounge playing this game over the internet. Now, I think the next thing to really look at is the smartphone, and I know we touched about it, but look at how America is looking at eyeglasses that you put on that you can now connect to your cell phone, and that will really beam some of the reality interface on your glasses. So you are actually looking at technology through a different way. So maybe you wear this pair of glasses and you're saying, I want to find the nearest restaurant. It actually comes up in your glasses showing you the direction you need to go while you're walking down the street and which is the best restaurant to go through. Now, Rajan Seth, who is the Director of Product Management at Google's Cloud AI and Machine Learning team, says that the Industrial Revolution magnified the human's physical ability and made it so that you can actually build more capable products and replicate them at a faster rate. And it's time that people start looking at AI as a mental ability. Now, if you look at, let's say we're looking at 2039, almost every single business will be transformed by AI on how they're doing business. And over the last 20 years, we've seen businesses transformed with the induction of the internet, for example. This has been a fundamental shift. And for those that have experienced the shift by using internet in our workplaces, we've also have experienced how we've transitioned from moving from desktop to computers to laptops, and now we're just using tablets and smartphones. But that's just the beginning. We also need to start thinking about how are we going to do things in the future. From the moment we wake up till we go to sleep, how technology is going to impact how we make decisions, big and small. We've always been amazed by these decisions. We've always been amazed of how artificial intelligence can actually supercharge every small or big decision you make. Many of us are on Facebook. For example, Facebook uses AI, which is artificial intelligence, on your phone, using your previous search history and your location to recommend businesses, places to eat, and other advertisements that come up on your Facebook just by what you were doing on your phone. You probably weren't even on the Facebook app, but it uses this data and this information to help make your life easier. Now, there's definitely an opportunity to rethink how we actually train people in our workplace or as students. Now, we know that an average person changes careers roughly about 2 times in their lifetime. And we need to adapt to this concept of continuous learning that is baked into our minds of how people work so they can evolve as technology evolves. Think of how you have evolved in the last 12 months in your place of work and some of the new technologies that you had to adapt to. Well, what is the digital economy and how does this relate? Well, the digital economy is really the economy activity that results from billions of everyday online connections among people, businesses, devices, data, and processes. The backbone of the digital economy is the hyperconnectivity, which means growing interconnectedness of people, organizations, and machines that results from the internet, mobile technology, or Internet of Things. Now, the digital economy is taking shape and undermining conventional notions and really shaping how businesses are structured, how firms interact, how consumers obtain information, how they're able to purchase goods from their smartphone and get it delivered within 24 hours. Now, the, the University of Switzerland says that the aggressive use of data is transforming business models, facilitating new products and services, creating new processes, generating greater utility, and ushering in a new culture of management. Now, the digital economy, for example, talks about Uber, okay, which is the world's largest taxi company, but they own no vehicles. Or Facebook, which is the world's most popular media owner, but they create no content. Alibaba, the most valuable retailer in the world that has no inventory. A recent one that we were introduced to a few years ago was Airbnb. It's the largest accommodation provider in the world, yet it owns no real estate. Now, something interesting is happening. What is it about these companies that allows them to reimagine the traditional boundaries and the value proposition of the industry? What can these young companies teach us about leading in a digital transformation in our area? And how are we going to adapt to this emerging fluidity found in the traditional roles? Well, there really is 4 fundamental areas of digital transformation central to business success. The first one we're going to look at just now is the Internet of Things. And as sensor prices continue to drop, we are really in the era where everything can be connected. People, businesses, devices, processes, we all are connected with each other. And the meddling of the physical and the digital world brings every asset into a digital domain where software dominates. When an organization can understand its physical and digital asset inventory at any given moment, it can operate with precision where previously this was unimaginable. We are really paving the way for the ultimate lean enterprise. This will not be a nice to have differentiator, but it's imperative for any digital business for the next 2 to 4 years. Now, if we look at the future of work, people are regularly working from different offices. They're either working from their home or some of them are working from restaurants because we understand we needed to adapt to lockdown. We needed to adapt to the future of work that we're now going to move into because of the certain restrictions and the safety of our people. So going forward, there's no more physical offices anymore. I do know of some banks in South Africa that have now told their staff members they are going to work from home indefinitely and started actually selling off their, their properties because there's no people to sit in them. Now, the emergence of this is flexible, and we understand that global enterprises have also done the same. But businesses are required to do this to manage the dynamic ecosystem. At the same time, we need to manage the talent and the next generation of digital business processes. They have been proven to be effective. Many of our businesses never even had the concept of working remotely or working from home, but now we're doing it, and our businesses are successful. Some businesses have grown even more in terms of growth and profit than pre-COVID. We've seen that multinational companies are adopting the future of work where people are distributed across various places in the world through various time zones, and yet they are still able to perform their task. Let's look a little bit on customer experience. Now, if we look at the digital economy, all customers, whether it's business to business or business to consumer, want to interact with a business where it's convenient for them. Now, additional to this, customers desire some sort of engagement. Uh, Previously, research has shown us that customers want to engage and have some sort of physical contact or experience with someone where they're walking into a retail shop, there's someone there who can help them, show them the product, and it's a tangible feeling that they want to have. Now we've seen business experience through seamless omni-channel, direct or contextual, and even personalized apps. During lockdown, we couldn't visit some of our stores. Many of them transformed and used online shopping or app-based shopping to even get us our groceries within 60 minutes. Now, this has changed the customer experience. At the same time, if you've ever taken an Uber, um, your driver can engage with you as a customer in terms of your rating. How did you feel that service? You would then get to rate them and share live feedback on how they can actually improve that service. And that's how technology is actually transforming the customer experience. If we go through, some of um, the global middle class businesses, they're saying they are likely to expand by threefold in 2030, where there is going to be increasing pressure on essential businesses and resources. Now, some of them are growing really fast, and some of our businesses, due to COVID, are growing at a much slower rate. But what we do know is that by using data in our business and using the general applications of commerce and digitalization, we are able to create new intelligent digital networks that is able to really help us engage with our customers, the way we commerce, how it's managed, how it's optimized, how it's shared, and most importantly, how it's deployed. And it's really about looking at our businesses, and how can we scale this to reach all touch points of not only our consumer, but looking at how we procure our deliveries, how we interact with our staff, and how we generate our profit. Now, we spoke a little bit about the Internet of Things. And what is the Internet of Things? Well, the Internet of Things is really for anyone or anybody which creates a pathway through the internet by using devices where they can connect at any place, any time, and virtually doing their life comfortably through a device. Now, tens of billions of Internet of devices are currently in operation across the globe, from well-known devices like Amazon's EcoSmart or smart watches as we know it, to controlling our houses with remotes by air conditioning and lighting. Now, the Internet of Things is not only for the consumer industry, but also for the business industry, who is ready to adapt to these IoT applications. And with the global pandemic still going on, we need to start to expect to see even more connected devices across all sectors in the future. From what we know, our computer retailers have grown by over 15% during this pandemic because people were now forced to go digital. Many of us were not ready, but we had to adapt to the future. We've seen Zoom, which is the platform we're looking at, increase their revenue by over 150% due to certain restrictions that the world has seen. Now, in 2021, we will also see the rise in Internet of Things by developed partnerships. Brands who no longer require cloud transformation will now actually use their devices for both consumers and business needs. Now, the Internet of Things is really shaping how we do business and how we go forward. And these are things like in integration and stability, security, user safety, return on investment for business. A good example for this will be the automotive industry. Now, the automotive Internet of Things is witnessing more connected vehicles remain in continuous real-time communication with their surrounding ecosystem. Connected cars are utilizing high-speed mobile connectivity to interact with other vehicles and sensor on the roads and motorways. We're now seeing the rise of our cars being so smart that if we know or if we're driving and they anticipate a collision, the car will actually stop. We also know that our driving experiences are becoming a bit more smoother due to assisting lane technology to making sure that we are staying in the right lane. So these are just some of the ways how the automotive industry is using the Internet of Things and is making driving safer, easier, and more reliable. Now, in agriculture as well, we see that some of these is being present. However, they also are being faced with some challenges due to the world's rising population. But they are using AI to help plan and strategize on how they're going to move forward. Now, if we look at the digital economy, it really has given a rise to a number of new business models. And although many of these models have parallels in traditional business, modern advantages in ICT have made it possible to conduct any type of business anywhere in the world where you don't need to open a shop. We've seen how margin have improved. We've seen how customers' experiences have changed. We've seen the use of innovation. We've seen the use of value creation. Almost every one of us these days have smartphones. Almost every one of us are using apps to make our lives easier. Now, while we're talking about technology and how it impacts our business and our lives, we also need to look at how does this technology help us with our leadership skills? And what are some of the core skills that we as leaders need to start adapting to? Now, leadership capabilities for the digital age is regardless uh, of any business environment, we need to start developing them, and we need to start enhancing these skills. For example, a leader needs to communicate effectively, relate to the team and individual goals and corporate goals, and also effectively manage direct reports and build relationships across other teams and departments. Now, a leader needs all of these skills in order to be successful. As the business environment changes, core leadership skills remain, but a leader needs to now deploy those skills differently and in a different manner. As an example, a leader first needs to learn how to communicate effectively with his or her team, often involving things like how to set goals, how to effectively coach their team members, how to have one-on-one conversations, how to manage performance. And as the leader grows in their role, communication with multiple teams, managing conflict, priorities, managing different goals and personalities, and now doing this in a virtual environment across multiple cultures. Now, while transformation to a digital environment, these communication skills still need to exist, but a leader will face new challenges in communicating and using new tools that exist in the digital world. Now you are able to talk to your teams via Zoom or Skype or WhatsApp, where previously this was not possible. Now, this sometimes may need some tweaking, or they may need some updates in terms of online collaboration, but this is how we are able to drive our team's work and performance going forward. This is how we're going to create a new way of managing their future goals for stakeholders. Now, we don't need to throw out some of the existing skills that we have. No, what we need to do is use those skills and see how we can actually develop them for the digital age. Now, there might be some core capabilities that leaders need to develop, and you need to look at them and see how can you develop them, how can you learn these skills, how can you start adapting to it. But it's also about taking these skills and transforming it. It's one thing learning it, but you also need to be able to transform it. Now, these 8 skills that you see identified in the picture here. Now, in addition to strong core leadership skills, leaders of the future must be able to build mental agility. Now, mental agility is really the ability to think critically and make new connections when solving problems. Mental agility is important to a leader in the digital age because those leaders are continually dealing with ongoing complexity and the need to make decisions without complete information. Now, by having mental models that can help us connect the dots, leaders can be more effective in making decisions and adjusting course quickly in the light of the larger picture. Let's talk about putting it into practice. Let's say if you have a strong opinion on a topic, you might write down the argument that the other side may not have. This gives you additional insights. If we look at rapid adaptive, it have to admit that the term rapid adaptive is not my own, but I really like you to understand this, is rapid adaptivity is the ability for a leader to be flexible and change within changing business needs. Many of us know this around change management. Now, we as great leaders need to be willing to experiment and try new things in order to stay relevant, that is rapidly changing. But at the same time, we need to embrace change, drive change within our business, and lead our people with this change. And as humans, we don't like change. We don't like to be put into uncomfortable situations. But as leaders, we need to embrace technology and really try and move forward and take our team forward by showing them how technology can really help them. Now, learning agility is also really, really important because it's the ability to apply some of the past lessons that we used to know and adapting them to future situations. Now, great leaders know that rapid change requires rapid learning. Now, most importantly, great leaders also believe that people can improve, and they model a learning environment in which they allow their people to be challenged and to grow. Think of the last time you learned something new, or you decided to read a new book or learn a new app of how to use that. you are constantly needing to challenge your mind to keep your brain moving forward. If I had to touch a little bit on digital literacy and see how digital literacy has transformed not only what leaders know about technology, but how we actually embrace technology, and how technology can help us create relationships, build teams, but at the same time encapsulate the concept of this possibility of technology and what it offers. If we had to look at some of the others, and I'm going to skip a few due to time, but it's really important that as a leader in your business, you are using technology and you are trying to embrace technology, because some of us also do find it difficult that when we are using technology in our businesses and trying to go on with leading our people, it's important for us to also remember that we need to embrace the technology, and we may not have all the skill sets, but it's important for us to learn using 4IR, embracing it, and taking our business forward. I'm now going to hand you over to Taffy, who will take you through the next modules.
Thank you very much, Khan. It's always a pleasure to share the stage with you. Although I have mixed feelings about that, because you always do such an awesome job. I'm going to try and share my slides, but I do like to just comment on some of the things that you did mention, Carl, particularly on how when we're talking about 4IR, it's unprecedented. We've never seen anything like it. And I think that is a great advantage for all of us, in that we are all navigating this new environment at the same pace. So it really boils down to who can navigate this environment the best, who's quicker to the draw. I just want to just check if you can all see my screen. But you mentioned a lot of technology that is now available to business and individuals. But the real question, I think, also is, how does technology create a competitive advantage? And I think there are four key areas that you can leverage off. One is to differentiate products or service, use technology to improve your business processes through efficiency or automation. And you're looking at how you can change your business structure, how your business operates, or you can change the industry structure. You touched on a couple of models there, and companies that have completely rewritten the business model book, Airbnb, Uber, and I will touch on some of those in this presentation. So how do businesses create value? Leveraging of technology. There are three forms of value that successful companies are getting right at the moment. It's either you're focusing on the cost value, the experience value, or the platform value. And as I go through the slides, I'm just going to spend a little bit more time on the platform value, because I think for me, it represents an organization's best chance of competing out there. However, when we're talking about cost values, we're talking about the low-cost airlines, Southwest, we're talking about at experience level, we're talking about Virgin Active. Going to the gym is no longer just going to the gym. It's sexy again. You go to the gym and you have fun. Starbucks, as much as it may not be the best coffee available, but the experience makes it the best coffee. It's really something to look forward to. at a platform level, there are a number of companies that have really managed to leverage off this this segment or this pillar. And you spoke about Netflix and how Netflix is not only streaming content, but it's also allowing people to create content. Airbnb does not own any retail assets. Apple has an ecosystem in the background that allows people to create value. Uber, again, a company that is doing amazing things, but with very little retail assets. And if you look at what we're talking about when we say cost value, it's free, it's ultra low cost. And basically what it means is that a company strives to offer a product at a cost which is much less than what you would traditionally get, or sometimes nothing at all. I mean, we're using Zoom, and there is a segment within that Zoom product offering that allows you to use Zoom for free. So, and most of these video conferencing applications have followed that model. Amazon is using buyer aggregation, where a lot of buyers who want a particular product come onto that platform, which enables Amazon to buy in bulk, get discounts, and share that discounts with people. Price transparency. If you look at the models of your low-cost airlines and how they are bringing value to customers, you know exactly what you're paying for. So you know the price of your ticket, you know what you're paying for your baggage, you know what you're paying to get to the front of the line to get onto the plane first. You also know how much the food costs, and it's really up to you to be able to pick and choose what you really want to pay for. That's the transparency that we're talking about. There are other companies that are leveraging off reverse auctions, and there is a consumption-based pricing where you're only paying for what you use. And those of you who use things like Office 365 and so on will understand what this means, where the month that you don't want to use it, you don't have to pay for it. Going on to the experience value, we are looking at the likes of the gyms, as I spoke about earlier on, where they are selling not just the service that, brought them into being, but they've created a whole experience around going to get that service, and you're able to choose, you're able to book for some of your sessions, you can customize certain things, you get your instant gratification, and it allows you to reduce the friction of going. You can select the times that you're wanting to go to, and there's a lot of automation and ability to select the actual service that you actually want. So you will find that if you're leveraging off this particular one, you're offering more of an experience to customers, which is what they really want. And from there, you get your instant gratification. The platform value, and in my view, the platform value is where a lot of organizations currently are deriving a lot of benefits. And what it really means is, if you take the analogy of in construction, a platform is something that lifts you up and at the same time allows others to stand on that same platform. And this is the same in business, which is you build a digital platform and other businesses can easily connect their business with yours, build products and services on top of it. And as a result, you co-create value. And this ability to plug and play is the defining characteristic of the platform value. And the rise of platforms is being driven by transformative technologies, of which Carl spoke about. Cloud enables data to be stored in huge quantities. Social means that we are all connected, even if we're not in the same place. And mobile allows us to actually still be connected on the go. The cloud is is the infrastructure, the social is the connectivity, and the mobile is as it is, infrastructure anytime, anywhere. And this results in a globally accessible network of entrepreneurs, workers, consumers who are available to create businesses, contribute content, and purchase goods and services. And in my view, the platform strategy is the success. The success of a platform strategy is determined by 3 factors: connection, gravity, that is how well the platform attracts participants, both producers and consumers, and the flow, and how well the platform fosters the exchange and the creation of value. Gravity is, something that is a little bit of a chicken and egg, because producers only want to join a network where there are large consumers, and consumers only want a network where they have choice. And this creates a little bit of a complexity in terms of how do you then go about launching a platform business, and what are the options? If we look at the example of Microsoft, when they launched Xbox, they had to go out and they had to make a big bang in terms of what they were doing and a lot of noise, and they signaled a big pre-investment, and they had money. Microsoft has deep pockets, so they were able to leverage off the 500 million commitment that they marketed. Or you partner with somebody who has that infrastructure, partner, and using an existing sales channel. And Google and AT&T in America have done this very, very well. Other businesses have started off as traditional businesses, and they attract consumers, they create a captive market, and then they market the consumer base to producers, and you scale back. Amazon is how they've grown. That's how Amazon have grown to be what they are. They started fulfilling orders on their own, created a captive market, and once they had enough scale, they then opened up the marketplace on the basis of that captive market that they had created, and opened it up to others. Pay for one user group. So if you look at the history of Uber, when they started off, they subsidized drivers in, I think it was Seattle, and even though they were not transporting, what this did was it created that experience of the service. When people wanted Uber, it was always there. And this in turn attracted customers. And after that, they got the critical mass and created traction. Or you have product features. Facebook, again, something that Kyle had touched on, and the history of Facebook is that it started as a face sharing app in Harvard, and it went into the Ivy League schools in America and creating a perceived network for elite, and then use this base to then start growing. So there are different methods that you can use to actually create and launch a platform business. But what is interesting to note is if you look at the likes of Uber, they have elements of the cost value, the experience value, and the platform value, where the cost for a taxi ride is the lowest that you will get. And this is how they have driven your traditional taxis, as in meter taxis, out of business, because they're offering a very low share. And it is up to you to tip. And the intelligent demand, and so an Uber in the morning at peak period will cost you more than middle of the afternoon when nobody is actually using or requiring any transport. And that is intelligence that is being built into the different algorithms that run it, where it's able to track and see what the demand is and then price accordingly. There's an experience to Uber. There's no waiting or minimum waiting. Very rarely do you wait more than 10, 15 minutes when it works well. No cash, it's a cashless, no transaction time. The moment you book your ride, the billing happens in the background, and innovation that has been introduced slowly. You can now select the type of car, so it's no longer just a basic vehicle that gets you from point A to point B. You can now order something that's more comfortable, something that is bigger, and you can carry more people. And in some of these, you can actually select your own playlists. And there's a lot of security that's built in there in terms of real-time status of car arrival, safety, location, tracking and visibility, and a rating system that allows both the driver or the user to rate one another, and this allows the drivers to actually select the customers that they want to carry and vice versa. And if you then look at how they're managing to leverage off the platform value, they've grown so big that they're pervasive, not just in major cities, but globally, new employment opportunities. And a lot of people are actually moonlighting as Uber drivers. They have a day job and they can also then jump into the car and create extra cash, the gig economy that we talk about. They've started adding on extra services. Throughout COVID, we started using the likes of Uber Eats to order our food. And now you're beginning to get cross-platform integrations. And this is the same that you will see with Facebook, where there are no joining fees or recurring costs. It's about the experience, and you create the content. You're sharing memories, you're sharing photos and content, and you can select what you really want to do. And Facebook, again, has managed to scale. It's scaled to such an extent that it's now almost a fully fledged media and advertising ecosystem where the users don't pay anything, but in the back end, if you want to reach those users, then you have to then pay. And that's the business model that Facebook then looks at. And what they're selling to advertisers and marketers is essentially already segmented information. When you join, you're giving Facebook your data, your age, your race, your and all those other demographics that make are a marketer's dream, where you live, your location, and all of that. And it's much easier for marketers now to target certain individuals. So the true value that you find from leveraging of technology comes when you're able to get elements of the cost value added to an experience, plus an ecosystem and crowdsourcing communities. And that's where you get your true value. And businesses that are able to do this are the businesses that are going to survive and thrive going into the future. And all of this leads us to the question of, so how do we navigate this? What kind of skills are required? The bottom line, is that the skills are changing and they're evolving. And I've got there a graphic that shows you what skill sets were considered important by the World Economic Forum in 2015 and how those skills are changing in just 5 years. Critical thinking was at number 4 in 2015. It's gone up to number 2. And this is as recently as last year. Creativity was at number 10 in 2015. It's now being considered a top skill in 2020. And you will see that you'll have people management will continue to be very, very important because you still have to interact with individuals. But it's emotional intelligence, which wasn't there in 2015, is now in the top 10. And if you take this a little bit further and you project it into 15 years, from 2015, you'll see that judgment and decision making has gone from number 8 to the top skill. The point here is that there are a lot of changes in the skill set that you need to have in order for you to thrive and survive. What, again, going further, means that you need to constantly upgrade yourself, if I can use that word, in terms of the skills, and learn and continue unpacking and seeing what's happening in the environment, and making sure that there is an active learning that continues to take place, because the pace of technology is very, very quick. So organizations leading the way in digital transformation are ensuring that, they have to be purpose-driven. They have to know where their value lies. They have to prioritize culture, because people will continue to be important. Network above hierarchies. How are you able to coordinate and make sure that you're getting the best out of the available resources that you've got? Nurture talent. And top organizations recognize the importance of development and nurturing of talent through that talent pipeline. Expanding the ecosystem and using data-driven decision-making is critical, is going to be critical, and continual learning. And this allows businesses to be able to navigate and lead through a VUCA world. What you see on your screens right now is a graphic that is representing the disruption cycle in a VUCA world, where you've got to be innovative, you've got to have an entrepreneurial mind, and then you come up with an idea, which is a disruptor. You've still got to be bold to take that idea and make it a business case, and then you start disrupting the status quo. It goes into incubation, validation, and you start going into that cycle where it becomes profitable growth and value creation. On the flip side of the coin, it talks to, if you're too risk averse and you're not willing to engage with innovation and change, yes, rest in peace. And if you're resistant to change, again, rest in peace. So remember, when we're talking about the VUCA world, we're talking about volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That's what the VUCA world really talks about. But what I want to challenge all of you listening today is that we've got to change the mindset and look at the new version of VUCA, which is we've got to transcend and transform from being fragile to agile. And how do we do that? We do that by having vision, by getting an understanding, clarity, and being able to move and adopt, an agile stance. That's how we can navigate throughout this current environment where everything is a little bit hazy. And in order for us to be able to do that, we need to acquire skills of the future. So if you recall about 2 or 3 slides before, I spoke about what are the skills that are going to be required in the future, and how do we remain relevant to the businesses that are going to create platform businesses. So as we sit and we think about what it is that we need, whether it's for our own growth, individual growth, or whether it's when we're passing advice to people as career guidance, or even in our organizations in terms of creating those developmental paths for employees, so that it's not a surprise when technology then comes and then they find themselves redundant. Everybody's got to be tech savvy. You've got to be able to navigate new systems with ease. And once you become tech savvy and you understand what is happening in that space, your chances of being hired, or your chances of creating a business that can navigate this environment, increase. creativity and innovation. We've got to move away from this is the way we've always been doing things, and we will continue doing those things, because if we don't change and innovate, the danger is somebody's going to design a robot or an automation that can do some of those jobs. So we need to continuously be creative. We've got to be flexible and adaptable. And these are skills that we've got to train ourselves to be. And, I come across a lot of people who always talk about, but that's not me, and I can't do that, and so on. But the reality is, if you can't change, if you're not going to invest in yourself, and acquire some of these skills, you run the risk of being made redundant as technology continues to move, because it is not going to stop. That's the reality. And I think Kyle mentioned an icon that is used in most MBA cases of a company that failed to adapt, which was Kodak, and they were so big that there is a statement that we still use, which is a Kodak moment. When somebody smiles, it's you capture that. However, the company itself failed to move with technology. And what you will find is, if you read deeper into Kodak, a lot of this technology that is now available, cameras on phones and so on, they came across. They just didn't see the value in it, and other people jumped onto it, and they're now confined to the history books. So flexibility and adaptability, communication and emotional intelligence, and critical thinking are skills that we all need to acquire so that we continue to be relevant and we continue to innovate and grow. So it is with that slide that I want to bring this conversation to a close. And I really want to thank you for listening. My apologies. I think I've probably gone overboard in terms of time. But I just really want to thank my co-presenter, Kyle, for having laid the groundwork, and to thank you guys as well for giving us the time to present to you. I'll hand over back to the host. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Taffy and Kyle, for the informative talk. And we can clearly see from the conversation going forward that we live in highly volatile times. And I think the VUCA model provides a framework in terms of how to deal with that. There will be future webinars. I'm just waiting for the poll to close. I'd like to thank the RBS team, and to thank Kyle, Taffy, and Samira for all the hard work that's gone into making this a success, and also to thank the participants for taking the time. I hope everyone has taken some element of value into this that can be applied in their daily lives and in the workspace as well.